YouTube vinyl community, Cream fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we're here today to talk about Cream's probably their most popular album, if you ask around, Disraeli Gears, a classic, an absolute classic. And I really wanted to jump into this one because of Ginger Baker just passed away a couple days ago. At the time I'm making this video, he's just recently passed away at the age of 80. So in the drumming community, definitely a big loss there. His drumming style was definitely influential on how I play the drums because he was such a tom-heavy drummer, and his phrasing and his timing and the way he kind of built the song around what everyone else was doing, just as much as they were all three soloists somehow playing together magically. His style was very unique, and when you hear a drum track that he's on, you can just tell it's him. He's got a very characteristic way he delivers his drums. Something that's always stuck with me, especially as a kid, hearing "Sunshine of Your Love." I mean, just hearing that drum pattern and then learning how to play those drums. It's a charge. It's a whole buildup of a track, but we'll go into all that here. But Disraeli Gears, I mean, easily one of the most popular albums the '60s ever produced, with a humongous slew of big hits on here. Strange Brew, Tales of Brave Ulysses, Swobbler, and of course Sunshine of Your Love. And then non-big tracks like, We're Going Wrong, World of Pain, Dance the Night Away. I mean, this album really has a lot going for it, on the radio and off the radio, just as album tracks. It showed the band going in a new direction. They actually came to New York to record this one, whereas the first one, Fresh Cream, was done in England. But, Ahmet Erdogan was like, hey, come on over here, let's record over here. And they were like, all right, sweet, this is where all the music we love comes from. Let's do it here. And they had a blast making it, and it was a little bit of a departure from what they'd done with Fresh Cream, which is more bluesy than this album. This album does have elements of blues on here, of course. It's fuzzy, psychedelic blues, but compared to their first LP, which was definitely more rooted in the blues tradition, not all the way, of course. There's some pop elements in there as well, just as much as this one. This was kind of headfirst into the whole, crazy psychedelic lyrics, lots of fuzz pedal on here, the wah-wah is in full effect. This was the band taking on 1967 for what it was, and just getting totally trippy with it, right down to the cover art. I mean, this was one of the first covers with day glow coloring on it, which is just fantastic. This highlighter accent. I mean, seeing this on the shelf back in the day must have been a trip, because it sticks out. And the back cover just as much, the whole collage that was all pieced together here. Just fantastic. This album, for me, has always been probably my favorite Cream album. I love Wheels of Fire. I like having the live stuff on there. Of course, that's the live version of Crossroads came from. Fresh Cream is really cool too. There's some great stuff on there. And then Goodbye Cream, I did a review of that at some point in the last year. That one's got some interesting tracks on there as well, like Badge and Politician and all that. But this album for me has always been my favorite Cream album. If I had to pick one, this is probably it. Strange Brew. This album starts off with a song that is kind of based on another song called Lawdy Mama, which they had done a version of. Basically, the music's exactly the same, but the lyrics were different. The guitar solo on this one I really enjoy, because this was Eric basically saying that, here's a song that they were taking and then changing the words to make it more psychedelic and trippy and of the time. And then he got to sing it, which he wasn't the most keen on singing kind of guy. He did, harmonies and backups a lot. But, the management was really we should probably put this guy forward a little bit. Whereas really they were like, look, we're a band. It's all three of us. We're all going to sing. We're all going to write. We're all going to do we're a unit here. And this album definitely showcases that. But so they abandoned the Hey Lawdy Mama kind of thing and went with the Strange Brew, which was lyrics by Felix Paparaldi, who was a producer and I guess really good friends with the guys for years, even after this. There's a great documentary about this album where Eric speaks so fondly of this guy. And his presence is all over this thing, with a lot of the songs lyrically were written by him. But yeah, this is definitely a trippy song. It's really fuzzy, groovy blues. Just about a witchy woman you're falling in love with, and questioning your feelings and figuring out where you are in this. The melodic bass line that Jack plays against the really kind of straightforward drums for the most part in this one, but Eric's guitar stabbing against that melodic bass line is awesome because there's this balance that plays with each other the whole time, and it really does create this like slow head bobbing groove the whole way through. Um, I'm not sure if this is the version or there is a version where Eric does like this note for note guitar solo that Albert King had once done at one point as a way to be like, look, if you're gonna make me sing this thing, let me play the guitar solo like this. But yeah, really cool way to start the album, and it definitely gets you in this mode of what to expect from a lot of this LP. And then you just jump right into it. Sunshine of Your Love is the second track on here. Jack Bruce and Peter Brown wrote most of the lyrics for this thing, and then Eric came in and helped write the hook. But literally, Jack Bruce and Peter Brown were hanging out one night, and the sun was starting to come up, and they were trying to figure out some words for this thing that Jack had on the bass. And Peter was like, well, it's getting near dawn. And they were like, all right, I'll write that down. And that was it. The song just took off from there. What a fantastic song. I mean, this song has probably been talked about more than any other song they ever did. But the drums on this track, the way they just thunder the whole time, just beat the toms over and over. It is this grounding experience that if the drums weren't there on this song, granted the groove would still be good, but having that low end, that like earthy experience of these heavy tom-tom drums takes you to a different place. Because conventionally, most songs are snare drum and hi-hat, but to have most of a song to be thundering caveman drums, like, pretty far out. I love the trading of vocal lines between Jack and Eric in the verses. I think that's fantastic. Their voices blend really well, but they also stand apart from each other, so you can tell who's who, and I like the delivery that they both give off with this. The whole flavor of this track is just unbelievable, and that chorus hook, I mean, the way it just explodes out, it is a build-up of a song, especially at the end, where they just jam and crash the whole way through. It's just a ripper of a song. It's one of those things where when you find a riff that really works, and magic just happens after that. It just happens. It's like that kind of riff stays in your head. Just like the Batman theme song, Hash Pipe by Weezer, the James Bond theme song. Those kind of guitar things and those rhythms and patterns stick in your head, and they're instantly memorable. So, done. Like, that sells the song alone, and then you add some really cool lyrics on top of it, an explosive chorus, and, one of the most recognizable riffs ever to inspire guitarists for generations. You've got a classic on your hands, which is just fantastic. World of Pain, this song is great. I like this one a lot. Felix and his wife, Gail Collins, wrote this one. Lyrically, anyway. I'm not sure how much of an influence there was in the music. There may have been. I'm not entirely sure on that one, but I know that Cream definitely had probably their own say. More pounding tom work. Again, the drums on the chorus are fantastic. They're kind of played straight, but more of in a swing way, which is cool because Ginger had come from a lot of jazzy influence, and he would never consider himself a rock drummer. He just played the drums to the song, and that was it. So I really like his drums on this one as well. The solo kind of emerges out of the vocal, which I think is a really cool transition, how two completely separate things, a vocal and a guitar, kind of blending as one. I really dig that a lot. Jack's lead vocals on this track are just awesome. The verses are tender and warm and soulful. And this track in particular, for me, does have splashes of blues kind of mixed in here and there. It's a psychedelic track, but it has a little bit of their older sound kind of sprinkled within, which I think is a nice balance. Dance the Night Away. This, for me, is one of the most underrated songs on the album, but I'd say probably of Cream's career. Lyrically, this is a big one from Peter Brown, who, like I said, there's a great documentary. It's that Classic Albums documentary, which I hadn't seen in a long time, and as I wrote this thing with my own thoughts, and then I watched that thing, and I was like, oh wow, I was pretty close to what I thought he was talking about. He had kind of taken a break from taking drugs and doing a bunch of crazy stuff, and just went to a bunch of clubs and tried to experience the nightlife. Um, so it definitely gives off this impression of sort of loneliness, that like you're watching this dizzying world happen around you, and so much happiness that could be contagious, but you're sort of aloof to you know the feeling of giving yourself to that kind of happiness. It's got a real empty, stark, sort of not off-putting vibe, but definitely a lonely vibe. For a song called "Dance the Night Away," it's not a very happy song. Very Birds-like on this one, totally 8 Miles High kind of stuff. That guitar is totally out of the Birds handbook. But this track just has so many layers and so many dimensions that it's one of those things you can come back to over and over again and still find things in it years later. Yeah, a very unique experience. The tension that is built in this song, I think, is far out. And, for such a happy title, like I said, it's got a really lonely story behind it. Incredible song. Really, really something special on that one. And then Blue Condition, Ginger ends this album with ends this side rather, with one of his own compositions, which is kind of a nice break to have from Dance the Night Away. The previous track was so heavy and serious. This is kind of, I don't want to use the word goofy, but it's very lighthearted. But it might also not be. It might also be kind of a different take on a depressive state, or being in the blues, or sort of a reflective piece, but not as heavy as Dance the Night Away. So very interesting in that aspect as well. But for a guy who never considered himself a rock drummer, he can write a pretty straightforward rock and roll song. So I like that a lot. Musically, it doesn't really strike a whole lot of new ground. It's fairly simple. It doesn't really blow your mind, but it's kind of a nice break to have after the dense layering that was Dance the Night Away. Side 2 starts off with Tales of Brave Ulysses. I mean, what an unbelievable song. The dizzying, dreamy intro, and then it kind of wobbles in a little bit, and then Ginger just slaps the sticks on the snare, and you are just sucked into this psychedelic trip. It's a far out song, man. It really is. I mean, it's just a beautiful storytelling experience, and Clapton's wah-wah pedal just going crazy all over this thing. Jack's vocals on this track shine. He sings these lyrics as if he's lived them 100 times. He's so full of life and so confident in his delivery that you just believe every word he's saying. This song for me just encapsulates psychedelic 60s rock. It is like one of the tracks that just epitomizes psychedelic music in the 60s. Swabler, or SWLABR, however you want to pronounce that one. Another one that Jack wrote with Peter Brown. And this is easily one of my favorite Cream tracks because Clapton's guitar on this thing for me takes center stage. Granted, Ginger's drums and Jack's bass are equally as important, but someone turned up Eric in the studio, and that really sticks out. He just shreds along the whole time. His soloing on this thing is so fluid and so warm and so in your face, but also kind of coy at the same time. There's double tracked solos at one point, which I think is also pretty cool. But one thing I learned about this track in particular, because I've wanted to figure out what the hell this song has meant for years. I never really understood it until I watched that DVD again. You guys should check it out. Where they basically said, you're sort of defacing the Mona Lisa. There's something beautiful in your life, and it's becomes defaced. So it's kind of like drawing a mustache on somebody that doesn't have a mustache, or not making a parody of something, but something once beautiful has been taken to a not so beautiful place. So the rainbow has a beard, the preacher has a mustache. There's all this stuff that is supposed to be, not symbolic, but it's sort of taken seriously, and then it becomes something sort of not so serious. That's the worst explanation I could have ever given for a song, so forgive me for that one. We're going wrong. I'm going wrong in explaining songs. This song is fantastic. This is Jack's centerpiece here. His vocals, the way he can deliver these long, slow passages that just ring out, the way his voice just takes over and he can yell and command the audience. I mean, the live versions of this stuff from back in the day blow you away. The way Eric's just pounding at his guitar, Ginger's beating away at the drums rather, and Jack is just screaming his head off on this thing. What an amazing song. He wrote about, I guess he had an argument with his wife at the time, and just kind of wrote this like, well, we're going wrong. We're not going the right direction here. It builds and builds and builds, and the ending for me almost is a bit of that Spoonful vibe. Not the Love and Spoonful, but certainly they were an influence on these guys. But the song Spoonful, it's definitely got a bit of that sort of phrasing to it. But man, what an amazing song. The sparseness and the emptiness lends itself really well to the moments where it does pick up. So there's a roller coaster of dynamics that you've experienced with this track, and it's definitely something you sit down and listen to and kind of just experience. Amazing song. Outside Women Blues, totally a full-on blues track. Here we go. There's really not too much fuzz here on this one. It doesn't get too psychedelic with this one. For me, it was one of those things like, as I have been looking at this album over the years and whatever, and when I discovered who wrote the original track, it was one of those things where I was like, how the hell did Eric discover this? Like, it's almost like the hipster-ness of his blues obsession came out, because this is a pretty deep cut. Like, it's not some like well-known blues track. Like, this thing goes back a ways, so he knew his stuff, and he dug this one out of wherever, and kind of made it into this like rock and roll 60s song. Very cool, but definitely a guitar tour de force on this one for sure. There's a great version of him doing this acoustic from when the DVD came out in 2005 or 6, where he's just playing it on his own, which it took me like a month to learn how to play that, just from pausing the DVD, writing it down, writing where his fingers were, figuring it out again. Excellent version, so again, check out that DVD. It's a rather dirty song, really. It's, I mean, can't watch your wife and you're outside women too, and it's like, hey, not cool. But blues. Take It Back. This is apparently an anti-war song, which I didn't really realize, but definitely this song for me sounds like it could have been a Love and Spoonful song. Full on. Even the way Jack sings it sounds a bit like John Sebastian. This is a little bit more conventional pop meets blues. Definitely a track that sticks out in the album as not really sounding like the rest of the album. But still an interesting cut. I like the harmonica on it, the clean guitars. And Jack's voice is definitely a showcase on this for sure. He definitely commands the track really well. And then you end with this traditional arrangement of a song called Mother's Lament, which is basically a one take of Jack on the piano and Ginger and Eric just kind of doing this, full-on Cockney impression of this old-school traditional English song. It sounds like an English drinking song, really. Like you go to the pubs and just kind of have a laugh with this one. Felix really wanted it on the album. He heard the guys goofing around with this and said, yeah, I think that should be on the record. So Jack played piano, and it's just a fun one-take kind of thing. Nothing too serious about that one, but that's the album, you guys. And the original sleeve is no longer on the inside. This is my dad's copy from the 60s. So I put it in a MoFi sleeve. Hey, MoFi. But it's on the really cool Atco purple and gold, which probably won't show up because of the white balance on the camera. I'm going to get a new camera soon, but really nice shape overall. Just a couple of tiny scuffs here and there because it's, 50 years old. I love this album. Like I said at the start of the video, if I had to pick one, this is probably my favorite Cream album. It's just got everything on it that I could possibly want to listen to. Beyond, of course, a bunch of other songs from their other albums, but like straight through, this is a very enjoyable listen. 9 out of 10, hands down for me. I love this thing. So let me know what you guys think about it in the comments as well, and let's talk about Cream, Disraeli Gears for a little bit, and that's it. My name is Giggens. This has been Album Reviews with Cream, Disraeli Gears. Rest in peace, Ginger Baker, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.